Hello, everyone. It's time to begin our webinar. My name is Bart. I'm a co-founder to Explain Everything. And it's my pleasure today to provide you with a session on multi-purpose use of Explain Everything on Chromebooks for teaching. A few things before we begin. We stream this webinar to YouTube. So hello, everyone that watches us on YouTube. And also, we are active on Zoom chat. So if you'd like to post questions during this presentation, please do so using Zoom chat. And we'll try to also answer those questions that might appear on YouTube. That's okay, but we will prioritize to answer most of those questions that will be put to Zoom chat. This session is going to take about 1 hour. The recording will remain on YouTube. So for those that couldn't participate, they'll be able to watch that later. But of course, it's about live performance and answering your questions as they appear. So go ahead, ask them, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Today's session is about Chromebooks and is about Explain Everything on Chromebooks. And there are so many uses of Explain Everything using Google devices that we might not be able to cover everything. That's why I decided for today to focus on just a narrow fragment of those possibilities. And those you can see on the right side of this slide. So we're going to focus on active learning today. That is engagement, that is moving assignments, assigning projects to students, also starting group projects. And we're going to put aside instructional delivery that you can do with Explain Everything on Chromebooks. But since we covered that in our webinars, previous webinars, quite a bit, what we'll do, if you're interested in those scenarios, we're going to share set of links with you so you can watch those videos. And perhaps if you'd like to learn about Explain Everything features related to instructional delivery and recording, you might want to also join one of the future webinars on those topics. But it's just impossible to cover everything during one session. So active learning, assignments, using Google Classroom to carry those assignments between teacher and students. It's something that we're going to discuss today. So real quick, I'll show you what kind of webinars we provided when we illustrated how you can present with interactive whiteboards. So for instance, we had a webinar that is precisely on that. It sits, the link to that you can find under this link. If you go to explaineverything.com/webinars, you'll find all of those webinars that were provided. And under each of them, you'll find a link to the YouTube video. So you might be interested, let's say, in ways you can create recordings with Explain Everything. Then I encourage you to check this one out, or even this one. So as you see, there's quite a bit of materials. And of course, at the end of today's webinar, I'm going to provide you also with suggestions where to look for other materials on those topics. So putting instructional delivery aside, let's speak about Google Classroom and Explain Everything, because they work great together. There are benefits on both sides, of teachers' end and on students' end. On teachers' end, what we're going to speak about is the distribution of materials. So I actually want to focus on practicalities and show you how that works. And I'm going to use two devices today, my iPad, and that's going to be me wearing a hat of a teacher, and my Chrome device here, and that's going to be me wearing a hat of a student. So I'm going to show you both ends of the distribution. We'll speak about collecting assignments, what kind of result can be returned from students using Explain Everything or on their Chromes, and providing feedback. From students' perspective, this is quite handy because Google Classroom is one go-to place for receiving instructions and assignments. And yeah, and sometimes it is also a good tool to coordinate those that want to participate in group projects. And actually, that's a very exciting scenario that we're going to cover today, especially during this time when we have, because of this remote teaching need, there's not so many opportunities to work together anymore for the time being. But Explain Everything as a collaborative whiteboards open these possibilities. So you can think of students joining together on a canvas of a whiteboard for, let's say, group project, just to meet in this virtual space, a canvas of Explain Everything to work together. So I guess we'll focus on that because that's a really neat feature that we provide. Okay, so let's jump to assignments first, and I'm going to illustrate what we're going to do here. So as I mentioned, I'm going to pretend I'm a teacher here. So let's say that's me. That's Bart. Using Apple device and Google Classroom, so Apple device and Google Classroom here to create an assignment. And this assignment, I'm going to send to my student. Where can I find a student? Maybe that's my student here. So let's take this guy. That's going to be my student. Using Chrome device and Google Classroom as well. Of course, we both use Explain Everything. Explain Everything runs on different devices, including computers as a web app, but today we're using tablets. So why don't we do the following? I'll create an assignment, an exemplary one, send it to my student to have his reaction in form of document or video or a link to a video, so I can provide a feedback in form of a video. So let's create assignment first and send it to student using Google Classroom. So I'll show you how the process goes, and then we can return to those illustrations. I actually have a project on my iPad here that I can use. That's a geometry worksheet. So let's say that's going to be geometry assignment for today. And it's a project that I created here. As you see, it's fully created and Explain Everything, but you can think of projects that contain any sort of documents. If you have rights to use pages from printed materials, you can make a copy using your camera and put them to the canvas, or download PDFs and put them to the canvas and distribute through the Google Classroom with Explain Everything. So Explain Everything project is kind of like a container for the things that you want to share with your students. For me, this is the assignment that I have, and maybe I can leave instructions here, work out angles, and return to me. It's not necessary actually to provide instructions in the project because I can always add them as a comment in a Google Classroom. But let's say I want to illustrate the entire process. That includes also some form of instructions within the project of Explain Everything. So why don't we send this over to our student through Google Classroom? To do that, I'll use Export button, that's top right of my iPad, and I'll press Export because I want this to send over in form of a project, editable project for my student to edit. It could be just a PDF, of course, but let's say you have some components, elements of this project, like let's say videos that you want student to be able to play. You can add videos to the canvas of Explain Everything as objects, and those could be used and played by students. So I want to send it in form of explain everything file. So that's why I tapped export, and I'll choose projects. That's the bottom of the list here. So I choose project, and as you see, Classroom, Google Classroom sits on my device as an app. So I can access this app, and the project will upload to Google Classroom. I do have a class already created to my Google Classroom. That's the class of explainers. So I'll just create assignment. I use a role as a teacher, so I'm logged into Google Classroom as a teacher. So that's geometry assignment. And I can put instructions here, work out angles, and return to me, please. And I present. And that's basically what I need to do as a teacher. Send project directly from my Explain Everything through Google Classroom to my student. So let's now try to see how it looks like from a perspective of our student. So as a student here, I'm on my Chrome device, and I'd like to go to Google Classroom. Here it is. So I open my Google Classroom, and I'll go to my class of explainers. And as you see, just a new assignment here just popped up. New assignment, geometry assignment, cool. I can see the comment that was left by teacher, and I can see that there's an attachment. So actually what I'm doing here is I'm sending an attachment. That's the Explain Everything project file. You can say that by .explain at the end of this. That's the extension of our project. And this attachment can be accessed by student. Oh, I have different accounts here, so I need to switch to my student's account. That's some. But usually students will have just one account. Okay, and I can download this project to the device to open it within Explain Everything. So I can show you that the file is here, but you can easily, this geometry assignment, you can open it and Explain Everything just like that, just tapping.
So sorry, Bart, I'll just chime in because people are reporting that they can see your screen. Hi everyone, I'm Jakub. I'm just answering questions behind the scenes. So yeah, please switch to the Chromebook view, and we'll be.
Is it better now?
We see the three things now. So the three views.
Okay. Yes, okay, so I got confirmation that is better. So maybe I will go ahead and open it again so you see it one more time. So we were in the go, and thanks Kuba for helping us with that. So what I did on my Chromebook is that I entered Google Classroom, just like that. I went to Class of Explainers, and I checked that there's a new assignment. I was able to open it. I checked the instructions, and I noticed that there's an attachment. That what I did, I downloaded the attachment, changing account on a fly, because I have two accounts on this device. Usually your students will have just one, and I can download this project and open it and Explain Everything by simply tapping on it. Bang. It opens for edit. And now as a student, I can do my work. So let's say I'll fill some angles here, so I know that's going to be, okay. That's 90 degrees, that's B, so that's 90 degrees. And as you can see, I can like go through this and work on the exercise. Once I'm done, let's say I'm just marked that it's done, just to make a visually visible that it's a done exercise. And I'll have some angles here and there. I want to export it back to the Google Classroom as a finished exercise. So I'm going to press share here and export it. Because I don't have any video, I just want to export the image, a simple still image of what is visible on my canvas. So I selected image, and now I can select classroom. And now I have a choice. I can create a new post or attach to assignment. So let's say I want to go ahead and attach it to my geometry assignment. There are two, literature and geometry. That's the geometry assignment. So I did that. And after a while, your student's answer is attached to the assignment. I can leave comments. I won't do that for now, but that's all that I need to do as a student. So straight from Explain Everything, I was able to answer with a simple image. And that's the simplest thing I can do. Of course, I'll show you more. But for now, let's pause for questions and see if we can answer some of them.
So I maybe, because there were a couple of questions regarding the accounts for students. So whether they need an app or something to open. There was a question about have the option to open the assignment using Explain Everything, or do they need to add an extension or something? So yeah, we could go through that. So I answered this question in Q&A, but essentially your students need Explain Everything in order to edit projects. That's the basic answer to that question. And it's easy to deploy Explain Everything for like a school-wide in a school-wide deployment, so they will be able to register and get Explain Everything for them for their Chromebook. So it works that way. If you want your students to edit projects and create projects like just like Bart did, you can do that. Sorry, I cannot share my face. So sorry about that because it's disabled. But yeah.
The social distancing thing, it's the time. So, but thanks, Kuba, for that. Also, speaking some more to the accounts that you need, if you don't have access to the paid version of Explain Everything, you can try Explain Everything for free. So you can download this and deploy this app to students' Chromebooks and use free version for some simple project making. Like the example that I just showed was super simple. It's something that you can easily do with the free version of Explain Everything. It has its limits. You can do 1 slide, 1 minute recording, but given that, let's say, assignment is quite simple, you can use the free version, of course.
So there are a couple of questions regarding the linking. So I'm not sure whether you're going to go through that, but people ask if it's possible to create a link to a project in Google Classroom instead of uploading a project.
Absolutely. And I'll show that soon when speaking about collaborative projects. Before we do that, let me show you how you can share videos back and forth. So let's say, and I'll just show you the Chrome again. Let's say I'm a student and I struggle with this project. I just need some suggestions from teacher on something. I can easily record video and ask questions and send this video to my teacher to provide me some additional support, let's say. So let me show you how to do that. As a student, I'll press record and I'll say, I do have a problem with this angle here because I don't fully understand blah, 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 blah. Right? That's just a simple illustration. I just recorded 10 seconds. I wrote something. I mentioned what I'm struggling with. It's recorded and I can play back. Problem with this angle here because I don't fully right. Having this video, I can send it back to the teacher in actually two different ways. I can send as a link to the video, or I can send it as a video. We'll cover links in a second. For now, I'll just show you how you can return a video. So I would press share here. And if you want to send a video file, again, attaching it to the question, you can press export, select video, and Google Classroom. What will happen now is that Explain Everything renders MP4 file, and it will put it to Google Classroom in form of attachment. However, if there's a long project, because you see it takes a little for Explain Everything to render, I'll cancel that, and I'll use a second option here. You can easily share web video link that creates a link to the video that is stored on our cloud. That way, there is no waiting time for rendering video, and instead of a file, you can actually post a link. So I'll do that. And as you see, that's the link under which video would play. So I can copy it to Google Classroom like that, or just copy to clipboard and go to my Google Classroom. And maybe I can add a private comment here to my teacher. I'm sorry. Hello. Okay, and I can so that's my assignment, geometry assignment. And I can add a private comment and say, here's my question. And I can put my video here because I have it now in my clipboard. I'll just put a link to the video. So I'll show you how it looks like now on iPad. So I'll share my screen again. And you should see my iPad now. So if I go to Google Classroom, I'll notice that within my geometry exercise here, there is an answer returned as a photo of a solution, as we illustrated before, but there's also this link to the question posted by my students. So I can go ahead, click link, and it will open up Explain Everything to play video, as you see here, but it's something that you can play in the browser. And that way you can share through Google Clouds only links, not files. I'll pause here and take questions if there are any to this bit before we move forward. So let me see. Okay. Eleanor asked if the videos can only be 1 minute long. That's true for the free version when the user is not registered. So that's the freemium limitation that we have. However, if you have a paid version of Explain Everything or using trial, let's say extended trial that we provide for free now, those videos don't have any limits. Let me see. So there's a question. Last week, I created a video lesson for my students. I began making the lesson on Samsung Chromebook, and then I opened it up on PC, and the slide pages were all messed up. I spent time fixing it. Then I had to continue working on again on Chromebook, and again, I got all messed up. I don't know exactly what could be the reason for this. We would have to troubleshoot this because this is quite surprising if it happened. Explainer Everything keeps one format file that opens on any devices, iOS, Androids, Chromebooks, and on web in a similar way. There are some differences between platforms. Like, for example, if you use, let's say, browser in a project on iOS version, you will not be able to use a browser if you're using a web version of Explainer Everything, because obviously you cannot open a browser within the browser. But those are like, limits that exist with technology, and it would not apply to this situation unless your students used something extraordinary. So we would have to troubleshoot and see what kind of assets were used in the project. But this is not expected result that you observed, and we're happy if you share the project with us. We're happy to look into it. So Debbie asked how we access the free version that is being offered now. Maybe let's look into that real quick before we move forward. That's a very good question. All right. Okay, so I'm back on our project. I don't have it here, but I'll show you on our website. If you go to explaineverything.com and you go to our blog, there's a link on the bottom of the page as well, but I'll just use the correct URL. Okay, and if you check here, we have a set of materials that are that describe 3 strategies for online education. And there we defined what kind of teaching can be done remotely and learning. And this is something we covered yesterday on a webinar, and we have a tomorrow webinar as well, speaking precisely about those three scenarios. And those 3 scenarios, this article is where you'll find the link to our free extended trial that is also offered in this article. So if you check here, you'll be able to register for extended free access to Explain Everything if you want to put it to use. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. So I must admit, Kuba, you're making an outstanding job, because there are no more questions for me to answer now. But I guess there will be when I show you the second scenario that I prepared. That is collaborative projects. So let's say that will be the situation that I'm going to illustrate here for you. So that's me, Bart, and I'm using my Apple device. I'm going to create a collaborative project that will be sitting somewhere in the cloud. Oh, beautiful cloud. That's going to be sitting somewhere in the cloud. Maybe I can do better with that. Sorry. I'm not an artist, as you see, as you can tell, but I do have clip arts here. And here I can find easily some sort of cloud, I guess. Not pretty, but it's still better than I had. I'll just cut out this cloud that I have here. Sorry for playing with Explain Everything on live session, but yeah, it's still fun. So that's my cloud. Okay, that's my Explain Everything project. That's my Explain Everything project. So with Explain Everything, you can use it in like 2 situations, offline and online. Usually this project that I'm broadcasting from my device is actually a local project on my device, but I'm going to create a new one for students to access using their devices so they can work together. And it's going to be a group assignment, group project on, let's say, extreme weather conditions. Extreme weather. So I want to have a situation where other students will be able to access this project and work together, even with me, using their Chrome devices. So we will be all able to access this project at the same time or at different times if necessary. So how to do that? And I'll show you step by step how to prepare a project, upload it to the cloud, and then share access code or link for students, and so they can receive it using Google Classroom and enter project. So for that, I'll create, I just noticed that I'm using wrong version of Explain Everything. We developers, we have so many versions of the same software, so sometimes we're just confused ourselves. This is a new project that I created, and I'll call it Extreme Weather Project. And I want my students to share their reactions and materials on this topic. So I need a pretty background. I can use Unsplash. We do have Unsplash integration that allows you to use beautiful assets that are shared through Unsplash for your projects. So maybe this one is too extreme, but this one is quite okay. So I'll use this one as a background for my project, extreme weather. That's the topic. I'll make it bigger. Maybe it should be transparent. And maybe that should be in white. Okay, that's quite good. And I can add instructions again here or as comments on Google Classroom. So I'll use Google Classroom for that. What I'm about to do now is to use this project that I created on my device as a cloud project. And for this, I will use this invite button that you see sitting here in top right. That's the button. And with this button, I will initiate upload of this project to the cloud. It's already done. And as you see, again, I have a link here, but this time it's not a link to the video like the last time, but it's actually a link that would allow anyone to access this project and edit. That's because we set permissions that way. If you want to restrict project to, let's say, some students, you can do that by putting their email addresses here. You can do it that way. And you can set who can do what. Or you can just use the link that you create. So let's say I'm going to share this link to the classroom, and I will create material this time, group project on extreme weather. As you notice, already linked appeared here as a linked resource through this material that I'm sharing through Google Classroom. Please share materials that you have on weather, on extreme weather. I'll send it to my students. What I'll do as well is that I'm going to join this project myself as a teacher, so I can show you the collaborative work from two devices, if I'm able to display two devices at the same time. Let's try. So now I'm going to move to my Chrome device, and let me know if you see the device now, because I'm not sure about that. Kuba, if you could confirm that Chromebook is visible now.
No, we do not see it yet.
Okay.
I think you have to disable the feature
Sharing.
for all. There we go. And now switch to the to the other one.
Spotlight video.
Oh, there we go.
Great. So one more time, I'll go to class of explainers. Now I have new material, as you see here. Group project on extreme weather. That's fantastic. Let me open it. Extreme weather, please share materials that you have on this. Okay, and there's a link. So I click this link. Oh, I had a project open on my explainer everything that will now close. That's fine. I'll save this geometry project here. That's okay. Where this link took me is to this extreme weather project that I can now access to edit together with my group. So what happened now is, oh, and I'm not the only one. Hey, Kuba. As you see on the top right here, we have 3 people connected. That's me and my other self being a teacher, and that's Kuba moving this object here. So if I do anything on a canvas of this project, it's already reflected to anyone that joined this very project. If you'd like to try joining us on this project, you're welcome. We can share code that you can use and explain everything to join us. Let me do it right away. We can practice together. That's the code that you can put in your explainer everything there, where you see the join button. So let me show you real quick on my other device. If I leave this project, here's the join button. You can use the button and put this code here in order to connect to us to edit this project together, so we can perhaps share some reactions and information on extreme weather together. So that's the scenario where you share links to cloud projects, and those projects are always accessible until you turn this project off by limiting permissions to access the project. But it's something that is quite handy during those days when it's hard to get everyone at the same time to complete a task or exercise. So you can share link and ask students to come at the same time, or even independently share the reactions on a canvas of Explain Everything. I'll pause here again and open for questions, because I'm sure there are some related to this scenario. Let me see. Can you show that code again? Yes.
I've already posted it in the chat.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fantastic. So if you'd like to join, please go ahead.
Yeah, so this one is really good. This question: how do I keep students from deleting or editing other students' work?
Aha. Yeah, that's a very good question. We don't try to limit students from doing that. We kind of like provide all the tools to everyone. However, if you use the permissions here, you can basically, when you tap invite, you can basically set the permissions for each of the students separately. So you can have some as just viewers. And of course, this will not forbid the situation where you have someone that has properties to edit damaging work of others. It's a matter of, working with students so they know how to behave on this open canvas. So there is no solution that we do have, but there are, what we suggest to do with students is to first create a session, just an overview session, so they learn how to behave on a canvas, they learn what they can do, they understand that what they do is reflected to all other participants, so they can kind of like agree with the situations and start to be mindful about what they're doing on the canvas. What we suggest as a best practice is to keep the groups small. Usually what works best is groups of 4 to 6, up to 8 students. Now on this canvas, we have like 12, 14 and great things are happening, as you see. So keep the group small, work with your students so they know how to behave. This is also a good exercise of, behavior in a virtual reality world on a canvas. So Heather asks, will students be able to write on the assignment if they only have Chromebooks and do not have access to the Explain Everything app? If they don't have Explain Everything app, they can still access this canvas. They can do that by using link. It will open a browser on Chromebook. And here's a good question, how performance on the Chromebook will look like if only web version of Explain Everything would be used. I would suggest in that situation just to download the free version of Explain Everything because of the performance is going to be better. Chromebooks are not high-powered devices, but it still should work. There's one limit that you need to know about is that if you have students using free version or just they're not registered at all, in order to project in cloud be open for them to access, you need to be in the project as a registered user. So when you're on the project, explainers can join even without registering by just following the code, given that you set the permissions that way. All right.
So just one more addition to the question whether you can share a project. Just remember that if your students are joining to your project and they have a free account or they join in as guests, you need to be in this project. That's the only requirement for them to join. Because if they don't, they will be asked to create an account in order to enter the project. That's the only addition.
Now, what's happening here on this canvas is just great. I love it. Okay, so that's basically second scenario that I wanted to cover today. And since we did that, we still have more than 16 minutes to take your questions. So please go ahead, and we're happy to illustrate and explain everything that you're interested in. Okay, so Elena asks about the update related to this current virus situation. So let me, because we're using collaborative session now, let me just show you the resource that we have on our web page that allows you to make use of our extended free trial to explain everything. So if you go to explain everything /blog, there's also, as I mentioned, link on the bottom of our page. You'll find article that is visible. Let me show you here. Explain everything.com/blog. We have tips and stories, but this is something that is important for you if you're looking for free extended trial. As let's say you want to try Explain Everything for a month or even more, free of charge for a larger group of students, and do those crazy collaborative projects with them. So that's the article we encourage you to see. And also there is one more that I highly recommend, because we list 3 collaborative strategies for the classroom, and we speak about explainer videos. We speak about broadcasting your whiteboard through different conferencing solutions. This is actually something that we do currently. This webinar is on Zoom, but I'm still broadcasting my whiteboard as a visual layer to instructions that I provide. And we also transmit this to YouTube. And there's third scenario that is actually what we're doing here. That is collaborative whiteboarding for group projects. Okay, let me see what other questions we have. I'm an elementary teacher. Do you think this is appropriate for fifth graders aged 10, 12? Yes, I believe so. We do have some limits for younger students if you want to limit their access to different resources. There are central, there is a administrator's panel that allows you to, let's say, turn off browser completely or restrict access to different elements. But if you're not thinking about restrictions, rather, is it easy to use by fifth graders? I can say absolutely. We notice that kids don't have any problems using this software, although sometimes we fear that we give them too many options, and we know that they play at first with those options. But then again, we notice that even younger kids are using those collaborative sessions. I recently had an interesting discussion with a teacher that works with even younger students, and she said that she shared with me that for her, working with smaller groups of kids on collaborative session is essential these days because she can engage with them. But her practice is to have groups of 5 to 6 students together with her at different times. She keeps those sessions short, like 30 minutes, but she engaged with students together on the canvas of collaborative whiteboard. So yes, definitely it's possible, and we encourage you to try.
Well, there are so many questions, so
Yeah.
but we'll try to go through them. But this one is good. Bart, are you using 2 computers, one for your Zoom video and the other one for EE? Well, and the answer might surprise you.
I'm actually using iPad, Chromebook, my phone, and my computer. So my computer is connected to my iPad through cable, so I can, through QuickTime, show you what's happening on screen of my iPad. But I shoot what's happening on Chrome using my phone that is connected to the Zoom session as a different participant. And it's crazy, but we love it. It works. Sometimes it does not, but then we need to troubleshoot live. What we encourage you to do, if you try to do the lecture and provide instructions remotely through Zoom, is to try to keep it small. Keep it simple, is the simple scenario, the simplest you can think of is having a Zoom on your device and broadcasting your screen through Zoom to your class. So you have a conferencing solution, and by not be Zoom, but Teams, let's say, and you have Explain Everything on your tablet, and you broadcast screen of your whiteboard to the conferencing solution that you're using. It's actually something I illustrated here, so let me just share that with you. But I need to find a place to put this material. So that's the situation where you could use just one tablet with 2 apps, right? That's Explain Everything, that's Zoom, to transmit, to broadcast a screen of your tablet when you're running Explain Everything to your students that are connected just using Zoom. And it's actually one of the scenarios that we covered in this material here.
Awesome. So there's a great question, and I think the answer is no, but it's a great suggestion. So Amanda asks, do you have instructional videos for students and parents of those students? You see, we don't at the moment, but it's a thing that we could actually do, and thank you for that suggestion. Though the challenge is that there are so many different schools having so many different scenarios that what we do usually, we kind of provide those general ideas behind and scenarios, you know, because it depends on the whole system, how those scenarios work in terms of, like, you know, working with Explain Everything and with parents and students. But we'll think about it. It's a great question. Thank you.
It will definitely make their life easier when using Explain Everything. So yes, thank you for that.
There's another one that could be interesting. I mean, we've covered that already in some of the previous webinars, but Eleanor asks, my videos that I inserted to my project were not visible after I copied the project to Google Classroom. What should I do? So so now the question is whether they were completely not visible or were they just static and look like pictures? Because the thing about Explain Everything, and we can show that briefly, is that everything you add to the canvas can be interacted with, right? So this means in order for you to record a video inside of a project and then export this as a video, you have to interact with a video on the canvas, which sounds complicated, but it's fairly easy.
We can demonstrate that, of course.
Yeah.
So I'll create a new project here, and maybe I'll choose a different background this time.
Some of you might have gotten disconnected.
No, it's working fine. It's working fine.
Oh, it's a different, okay, yeah, a different device, sorry.
And also, if you have 3 users that is explainers on your cloud sessions, once you disconnect, the session will actually keep going, Kuba. So this is not a problem for those that are trying without having registered accounts. Okay, so I'll find a video just to illustrate what Kuba mentioned. Do I have some neat video that I could use here for illustrations? Maybe this one. Okay, so that's an object, that's a video file. That, as you see, I can play or scrub. And it's sitting on the canvas of Explain Everything. Now, when you record your video, if I press record here and I'm recording a video that captures all my actions, and I don't interact with video, this video will not play in the recording of Explain Everything. I need to play it so Explain Everything captures this activity of mine. And I can, of course, move this object. I can annotate on top of it if I need to. And everything I do when I stop the video is captured, as you see. So we have this visual way of representing what happened. So I'll just show you from the very beginning. If I play this, and I'll just mute my audio so you don't hear me with echo. So I used here my pen with black color. Then later I played the video. It's actually here, you can see the moment where I played the video and it started to play. And then I use the hand tool in order to move the video. And then I use highlighter to provide some kind of silly annotations. And then I paused video. So for you, just to add to what Kuba shared, is when you want to have your video playing inside of your explaining video, you have to interact with it. Is that a good way to explain it, Kuba?
Yes, it's a great way to explain it. Though Eleanor says that they were not visible, but it's a great example. So for everyone who wanted to do such thing, right? I'll just reply really quick and let's move on with questions. All right, Eleanor says that it helped to some extent. Okay, great. So.
Oh, so Debbie is shares with us. I see this as a super helpful for math teachers who need to explain to their students as they are showing the skills. Yes, absolutely. And we do have a lot of math teachers on our platform. We love what they do. We love how they use our technology to share explanations. And also, they often use Explain Everything recording to see the thinking that happens in students' brain when they tried to solve math problems, when they try to go through the solutions. So what they ask them to do, and we actually have a great article on this, is they ask them to do the recording while they go through the problem and just speak what they do. And by this, it opens the possibility to look into, the students' thinking, and sometimes provide additional feedback and corrections if needed. So try to do that with your students. And if you'd like to read more about this technique.
I'm sorry, because I'm typing and without being muted. Sorry about that.
No problem. Oh, here's the resource that I highly recommend to you. That's documenting and improving students' thinking using whiteboard recordings, where we demonstrated and wrote about what you can do. And we actually even used the examples, the math examples in our article here. So yeah, sitting there waiting for you if you'd like to give it a try. Do you have a video that students can watch how to operate the app? That's
I just clicked the answer, but yeah, we can go to answered. And so do you have a video that students can watch so they know how to operate the app? So I answered this with that the essentials video on our YouTube channel could be a good starting point, though usually what we see is that students have much easier time with explain everything and you know, using it. They get familiar really fast with it, and we even saw kindergarten kids use explain everything for like letter tracing. And
yes.
So yeah, we know that the amount of buttons might be intimidating, but you can switch to a different interface mode so that there are less buttons. I think we could show that.
Of course. Yeah, so let me just change again color of my background so it is different all the time. Here in the interface, I hope I'm presenting now because I don't have a control over that. I'm presenting my iPad. Here you have different options to change your view to, let's say, presenter mode, where you have just a handful of buttons, or simple mode for younger learners. And this mode actually can be forced to student and deployed to student device using our administrator console. So if you have younger learners, you can set their UI so they all have simple view as such with limited set of buttons that is adjusted toward their needs. We usually use the standard here, but we also often want to declutter the space, and we use then presenter. Kuba, what you mentioned before is the essentials, and I absolutely agree with you that kids don't have problems using Explain Everything because it's all trial and error for them. It's so easy to go through and check things out, and sooner or later, with sometimes a lot of trial and error, they figure things out. But for teachers, we created quite a bit of materials that you can go through, including our Explain Everything Essentials course on YouTube, where we provide you with a set of 6 videos, how to use the recording, how to visualize your materials using different tips and tricks, and how to also create group projects. So if you look for Explain Everything Essentials, there's an entire playlist for you. There's more on YouTube. You can check those materials. If you won't be able to find something, you can always ask us questions, and we are happy to improve the set of materials that we provide to teachers. In order to do that, please mail us at support@explaineverything.com. And just to mention one thing, recently we got so many questions, we are a little behind with answers, so please be patient, but we're going to answer every question that comes.
Right, and I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible, so maybe I'll just pitch another one to you, unless we want to just wrap it up, because there are so many, so maybe we could answer one more.
Let's answer one more, but let's also provide you what we're what we're thinking about next week, and just give us your answer. We're thinking about providing you opportunity with a different opportunity to engage with us. Next week, we might want to do a longer session that is being live on YouTube for entire 10 hours to answer as many questions as we can. So that would be the day for us to actually explain everything, because currently with so many questions that are coming, we're not able to. But we think about this forum, and let us listen to you. So if you'd like to engage with us on YouTube and get your answers there, let us know what you think about this format. So what is the last question, Kuba, that we should
that's my favorite one.
Okay.
Would you explain the stealth mode on and off?
Oh, that's our favorite one, because this is something that we could do better in terms of interface, and we're actually going to change it in about 2-3 weeks. I don't remember exactly, Kuba, when it's going to be revealed, but very soon. We're going to very soon simplify the interface. So
if everything goes okay, it's going to be in about a month. So yeah.
Let's say about a month. So stealth mode is going to go away, and we're going to, but don't worry, the functionality will be there. It's just going to be easier to operate. So currently, let me just quickly show you why we do the change. There's this concept of camera frame and your perspective. And those are two different things. Explain Everything allows you to capture video, and that's the frame of the camera that is going to capture what is inside of the bounds of the frame, and your perspective that might be quite different from what camera is recording. So that's the ninja. Your perspective is ninja. We call this that way because usually those guys are just sneaking around, so they have their own perspective. So if you tap this button, you can take your view to a different spot, and you see the red frame around here. That's the main view that would be captured if I use video. But you're free to go, and you can just look into, let's say, oh, that's the educator's plan. Very interesting. I'd like to purchase. And oh, that's essentials. And let's say if that will be on our collaborative project that still continues on my left side, no one would be following you. That's your own perspective. But if you turn it off, you would go to this main perspective that anyone else sees when, let's say, entering the project, the collaborative project, or when we do the recording, everyone sees that. But soon, those two concepts of your perspective and what's recording is going to be simplified, and we actually have a very good resource on what is going to change with the new UI, and we covered that on one of our webinars. So if you'd like to see the future, please go to explaineverything.com, webinars, and look for this one, for the recording from this one. Hold on. Explain Everything 2020, Peek into the Future, where in December we covered this very topic.
All right.
So big shout outs to Kuba for helping out in chat. Thank you, Kuba.
I'm really sorry that I couldn't answer all of these questions today. But yeah, if you look for a specific question regarding how Explain Everything works, feel free to check out other webinars. We've covered a lot of ground in some of them in terms of, like, technical intricacies. Though some of those questions are regarding the presenting and remote learning, and we'll cover that on a webinar tomorrow. The basics. We'll go through the basics of remote learning, presenting, and so on. So you can sign up for a webinar tomorrow, or just revisit the video that will appear on YouTube later, and learn about the basics of using Explain Everything for remote learning.
We encourage you to join us tomorrow. And for the time being, thank you for joining us today. We hope that was illustrative. Let us know what you think about new format of providing you with a stream live for 10 hours where we perhaps will be able to explain everything. Today we did as much as we could. We hope you like it. Join us soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much. See you.